Hey there, you're listening to the Not So Breakfast Show with Sasha and Ish. Alright, welcome to the Not So Breakfast Show, and this is the one about push and pull leadership. Are you telling people what to do? Are you taking them with you? We are going to explore 4 different leadership styles, when you should use them and why you should use them. Plus, I didn't think it was this bad.
Oh, this episode that we've recorded talking about leadership, I've wanted to throw up on my keyboard.
Anyway, that's the show. Let's get it. Alright, welcome to the Not So Breakfast Show today, and this is the one about push and pull leadership. Different styles of leadership in different ways. We all have different styles, and there's kind of 4 main styles that we're going to talk about today, but there's lots of different ways to do leadership. And to join me with that discussion is one of the best leaders of them all, Sasha Coburn. How are you today?
I'm really, really pleased to be here with you, Ash, to talk leadership. I don't know about that thing about being one of the best leaders there is, because I reckon the more self-aware you are, the more you know how far you are from what's possible, right?
And do we do the old "those who can't do teach"?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. We understand the theory, you and me, really well. I'm always reluctant to position myself as being someone who gets this stuff right, because I think if you ask people that are in my team, they'll give you a very different perspective on that.
Well, that is the true testament of a leader, really, is what their people say, what their team think about them. And sometimes I think that as an awareness exercise is quite useful. Like, what do you think? Maybe you don't want to get the feedback, but sometimes that level of awareness that you might get from those that you manage, those that you lead, is helpful as you develop it, because leadership is a journey. No one comes out of the womb just going, I've got it. Maybe Elon Musk.
I've got my diamonds out of the diamond cutter. Yeah. I reckon that one of the ways to tell if how your leadership is going is anybody following you. And following you in terms of doing anything that you suggest or say, or being influenced by the questions you're asking them, or the ideas that you're putting into the world, or following the direction that you're setting. Those are how you can tell if you're actually leading anyone or anything.
That's right. And leaders really, like if we kind of think about that leadership, it is about setting strategy. It's about setting direction. Whereas maybe more at the management level, it's about empowering people to then implement that. You know, how can we do this? How can we do it better? How do I develop you? So even though leaders can create opportunities to develop people, it's often the managers that will be there day to day just doing the hard yards with them at the coalface. But I think that leadership trait, that real clarity of thinking and that ability to stay sometimes calm within situations and become that guiding light that people can look at and go, I'm not sure they know exactly what's going on, but I feel relaxed because I know that they're going to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I trust that they're doing something about the situation that we're in. I mean, often I feel within my own leadership that we don't know what the direction is. We're just figuring it out as we go along, but ultimately someone's got to make a call. And I can think of plenty of times where I've been, we are literally all in this together, team. What do you all think? And other times where I'm very clear, this is what we're doing. I've made the call. Now let's go.
So why don't we sort of work through 4 more well-known styles of leadership, and we can kind of have a discussion on the way and then maybe layer in some other concepts as well. One of the styles of leadership that is often talked about is that directive autocratic style, which is just do what I say. It's the direction of the leader. I'm just telling you what to do right now. Just go out and do it.
And this is kind of an old-fashioned way of leading, but it's also really useful in times of crisis. So whenever you are under pressure or condensed for time, it can be super valuable to have this kind of directive leader that says, here's what we're doing, here's where we're going, no questions asked. And we traditionally see this in military organizations, because when you're under pressure and the enemy starts firing at you, that's not the time to have a kumbaya, hey, what do you all think about this? there's got to be calls that are made quickly in times of crisis and when you're under pressure. There's lots of people who mistake this as being the only way of leading, and that you're a better leader if you're louder, more forceful, more direct, more this is how it's going to be. And what we know about contemporary leadership is that's just not true. There's a number of different ways you can lead, but I'm always want to be careful to not diss this particular style, because there's plenty of times when this style is absolutely what's needed.
Yeah, and I think you raise a great point, because you're saying that not one style is correct. Like, you can use multiple styles, but you want to be careful maybe where you naturally sit within one, because if you constantly do sit in this one, people can get sick of that really, really quickly. Or if you're very charismatic and directive, then you end up, forming a cult.
And I think it's about how you grow people around you. So it can be really good at the early stages of your career to have someone who says, do this, do this, do this, because you can learn a whole lot of skills fast. But then you get to the point where you're like, I actually have some input and I'd like to have some say here. And what about this? And if there's not room under a more dictatorial kind of leader to grow other people and let other people make decisions and make mistakes, then those types of leaders will lose people. So you'll end up having a really strong leader, a gap in middle management, and lots of underlings. And you just go through lots of juniors. But you're not setting yourself up for the next level of your career as a leader if you're not also bringing people through.
So another style of leadership that we talk about is pace-setting leadership. And this is really where the leader is doing some of the stuff. They are setting the pace for the team. And this is a really interesting style of leadership, because I think that this is where a lot of people actually like to lead from. It's like, do what I do. Keep up with me. Let's go. And they really push their teams at the pace that they're setting.
There's lots of role modeling in this. And for people who have got their leadership positions because they've been good at the functional job, you end up doing this. You go, well, I'm really good at sales and now I'm the sales manager, so just do what I do. And you can end up having not a lot of empathy for people who aren't succeeding, because you're like, look at me. I can go fast and I can go hard and far and look at my results. That's the negative side of the pace setting. On the positive side, if you're this type of leader, it means that you're getting stuck in the trenches with your team. You're showing that no job is too small for you. You're in there with them and you're showing what's possible and that it can be done. I love it when in a family where somebody does something, not out of love and to help, but to show the others how it can be done. So if there's a job that's not being done around the house,
stacking the dishwasher
to your satisfaction, then you can always tell the person who's doing it, but they're doing it in a kind of I'm doing it and I'm doing it right and I'm going to show you how it's done and leave it with me because I'll do it properly and if no one else can do it properly. And it doesn't make everyone else in the family go, oh, I'm going to pack the dishwasher like Dad. It just makes everyone else go, oh, what a dick. Yeah. So you got to be careful when you're a leader in that pace setting that you're doing it to set a standard, to teach, to use it as a coaching platform, not just to show everyone how amazing you are at this thing and to highlight the gap between where you are at and where they are at.
Yeah, and if leadership is about creating opportunities for others, this one can be the danger, because sometimes you'll constantly be jumping back in there to either speed things up or I can do it better, I can do it faster. Come on, you can keep up with me. But where that's quite good is to get things going, but you've got to be able to then pull back, step out, because if you're still in there doing it, well, what is your team's job?
I also get really exhausted. I mean, you know when the athletes are trying to set world records and they have a pace setter. So they'll have someone that runs the first lap at the right time to be on world record pace. But then they drop off because they're not the person that's trying to actually set the world record. Then the second lap, there's another pacemaker who's keeping the pace on. But if you're a leader and you're trying to break the record yourself, it doesn't work. You run out of puff, you get exhausted. because it's not just the job you're doing, you've also got all the oversight of everyone else. So set good examples by all means, raise the bar and set good standards, but check in with yourself that you're doing it for the right reasons. And if you're doing it just to meet the sales target or to meet your goals every month, you're really not developing the team around you. I loved something I saw the other day, and it said, build such a strong team that no one can tell who the leader is.
Wow.
I went, oh, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Because there's no ego in that, right?
That's right. That's excellent. So another style that we talk about is democratic or participatory, where you kind of are joint decision. You're a team of equals. You're really trying to light a candle and sit around together and connect and get people's feedback. I mean, this is a really great style of leadership because people can get fully engaged with this, but it must have a bit of a downside as well.
I mean, what I love about participatory leadership is that it sounds like something you eat, like a patisserie or a croissant or something yummy to nibble at in the morning. I'm going for the participatory leadership. I think it sounds awesome. And what's great about this style of leadership is as you are growing people, it's about bringing people with you and asking for their input and what do they think. And I like to use this in a couple of situations. One is when you've got time on your side. So when the thing that you are planning or the project that you're working on is somewhere out into the future, you've got time at the start. I mean, we've got sort of wanky leadership words where we talk about socializing the idea. When you socialize the idea, it's where you plant the seed and you get people's feedback. What do you think? And we all talk about it a bit more. And then we come back to it another week later. What do you think now? And there's lots of situations in our organizations and in our families where you can actually get everybody's input because there's no one right way to do it. It doesn't matter what color you paint the offices to a certain extent, right? Get people's input. And when you've got time, that's great. I don't know. Are we being bombed now?
I'm just waiting for this plane to pass. I can block it out of my audio, but so I wasn't too worried about it.
It's incredible. I'm like, here comes the plane. I'm trying to keep talking about plane. I'm like, are you going to get bombed in real life?
I was watching your face going, yeah, she can hear the plane.
The plane. So if you've got time, wicked for that democratic. The other place, and I mentioned this with the colour of the office wall, is when the decisions aren't absolutely fatal or super important, it's a way to get people involved. So what I often find is leaders want to hold too tightly to everything. So they want to be the ones that pick the theme for the Christmas party. And I'm guilty of this. What we do at Coffee Culture is we go out to all of our stores and we say, what are your ideas for the theme for the Christmas party? And staff vote. And my idea never wins. And I'm like, why not? Because mine's the best idea. But clearly, I'm not 19 anymore, and what I think's cool is not what the peeps want. And why should I get to choose the Christmas party thing? What a waste of my energy when they are going to enjoy it much more. So that's a frivolous example, but it's an example of when you've got time and when you've got decisions that you can involve people. Great. I want to say one more thing about this.
Yeah, do it.
I think we underestimate how many decisions and projects we can actually bring people in on. And so me using the Christmas party example is not helpful really, because you could listen and go, yes, well, things that don't matter like the Christmas party and the catering, we can have everyone all in on. We can actually bring people in on a much wider range of topics and issues facing our businesses and crowdsource what they think.
Yeah, well, this is really just about getting people's opinion. It's getting people's input. And I think this one can frustrate people that are pace setting or democratic because they just go, we're having another meeting. It just feels like we're not getting anywhere. We're just having meetings on meetings on meetings.
All we do is talk.
Where's the action? But there are, as you said, there are certain topics or certain things that don't require urgency, that are in the future, that require much more scoping than just a decision made now. And that's that leadership ability to be able to identify what needs more thought and what stakeholders need to be involved in that decision, or what stakeholder would give you a better idea of what decisions should be made.
And who's impacted by the decision. So you want to give people as much agency as you possibly can over how things run. Same in families. What are the decisions that you can actually involve your kids in? Because it doesn't matter what you think. It matters that the decision gets made. Which beach should we go to today? Why don't you involve the kids in that? So that they're not stuck going to the dumb old beach that you want to go to because you swam there when you were a girl, but there's no ice cream shop.
We'll be right back.
If there was one skill that could double your income, advance your career, and increase your ability to influence, it is the skill of presenting. Whether it's on stage, in the boardroom, or at a job interview, the 30-Minute Presenter program will help take you to the next level. So check out our Instagram page, click the link in the bio, and get started on the 30-Minute Presenter program. Wait a second. That sounds like something that might have happened just recently. No? Okay, so the fourth one we want to talk about it is delegative. So this is laissez-faire. So this is basically very much high trust. So it's not just going, here are the tasks, go do them. It's not that form of delegation. It's literally a full delegation of a decision to a team. So you're saying, I trust you, go away, make the decision, make it happen.
It's a really hands-off approach. And the thing that you've got to be clear on when you lead in this way is that you have an absolute laser focus on your outcome. So you say, here's the outcome that I want. Here's the result. Here's the target. You go away and get there however you like. So as an example, so for the team at Coffee Culture, I could say, we've got to get $20,000 of extra sales over Christmas. I don't care how we get it. I just want $20,000 of extra sales. So they might say, I'm going to find one person who's going to order in one go $20,000 worth of coffee because they're going to give it to their 7,000 employees around New Zealand. Sold! Excellent. I couldn't then say to them, oh, no, I didn't mean like that. Not that way.
Yeah.
Or they might say, what we need to do is we need to find 20,000 people who will pay an extra $1 for a Christmas coffee because we're going to put a marshmallow on it. And if I'm just hands off about how they go about it, how they manage it, how they get there, what they choose, that's a laissez-faire approach to leadership. And again, you can be project specific about this.
Yeah.
Where are there opportunities to allow people to have their creativity or to make some mistakes or to get something wrong or to miss the target because you haven't been hand-holding them the whole way? They'll learn so much more from that than if you're saying, this is what I want and this is how I want you to do it. Because there's no room in that for people to grow.
Yeah, and just picking up on what you're saying there, like if you have a natural tendency in this leadership style, your danger is that you aren't tight enough at the start with the instructions.
So I notice this within myself, that I can be, right, you guys organize the Christmas party, I don't care. And then as I hear what's happening, and my team will tell you this is so true, I hear what's happening and I go, oh, I don't know about that. And that's really annoying. So I think as a leader, sometimes you don't know how you're going to be. You are learning through this process as well, particularly if you are trying something that's outside of your comfort zone. If you're trying something that's in opposition to your natural style, then it's going to be a learning for you as well as for your team.
So we're really, if we kind of put these leadership styles on a spectrum, it's almost like they start almost high coercion.
Yes.
It's very much autocratic, decision by the leader, not participative at all. And then you've kind of got at the other end, you've got high engagement. It's basically, I guess, knowing how to kind of bounce in and out of the styles and what style is relevant for what decision or time in the project that you might be working on or in your leadership style. But probably what we really want to talk about is, what is your default? Like, what's the one that you default to every single time? Or maybe you don't even know that you default, but it's more your natural style and you tend to stay there. Do you have a natural style that you stay with?
Hard to know. And the reason I answer like that is, the more you're conscious of your leadership, the less I think you move from from the default. So where you really measure it is when you're under intense pressure. And so I think under intense pressure, I pace set. I think under intense pressure, my instinct is to do a mixture of pace setting and directive, which is leave it to me, and I become like the superhero that goes out of my way. I've got it. I'll do it. And the risk in that is that it sends a message to anyone I'm working with. I don't actually trust you that much. I'll do it myself because it's faster and it'll just be more effective if I do it. And that's a short-term fix, but there's no long-term gain in that. So my challenge is when I'm under extreme pressure like that is to guard against the instinct just to heroically rescue and actually just say, does this require that? And there will be some situations where it does. Does this particular situation require that? Or can I put a pause in here? Can I just pause for a moment and see if there's another way of leading that is more democratic or more participative or has less of that me in it? I mean, what about you? What do you find?
Exactly the same. My default will be the pace setting and then that slightly, autocratic approach, okay, do this. Because it's, I guess under the pressure, if we are saying that the pressure is urgency, then I'll go that way. But sometimes pressure isn't urgency, it's pressure on delivery. And it's making sure that you don't default to the urgency style when actually you probably need to bring people with you. And that's really what we're talking about at the start, that push versus pull. Directive pace setting is push, whereas democratic and laissez-faire kind of approach is more pull. So it is trying to look at all the tools you've got and apply it at the right time, because I think that's what leaders do, right? They do the right thing at the right time, the really great ones, with a clear direction and why.
Yeah, I think a nice definition that sort of wraps it up a little bit is the difference between tell and teach. So when you're in tell mode, it's this is how it's going to be, versus teach, which will have much more questioning. Think of it maybe even like coercion versus coaching. Those are the spectrum ends that you're on.
And we've talked a little bit in our leadership camps that we've run of sort of around framing sometimes. It's like, look, we don't have time to kind of discuss this. This is what I'm going to do. We're going to do it this way. So you're kind of framing it up at the start. If you've got questions, I need you to come back to me. But right now, for the sake of the decision, I think this is the right direction. Whereas other times you might frame it up, say, look, this is an urgent decision. We have a little bit more time. I want to get more perspectives. So even in the way that you set it up can be helpful for the people rather than go, well, why did they make that decision?
That's exactly right. One of the other things that I've been thinking about in terms of this whole push-pull leadership is when you get under pressure, I've been thinking about this idea of high-performing teams, it really highlights to you who's in your team. And I think as we go through this whole pandemic thing, more than ever, who makes it onto our teams and gets to stay is such a critical perspective. I'm thinking of a book that's just on my shelves at the moment, and it's called It's Not the How or the What, but the Who. Succeed by surrounding yourself with the best. And on the one hand, we're not talking today about building a high-performing team, but it's when you start to think about your leadership style, sometimes you reflect and you say, well, I feel like I have to do this because I'm not getting the result I want out of person X. And so that forces me to be more like this, and I don't want to be like this, but it's because of them. And so the challenge for us as leaders is to say they are only on the team because we allow them to be on the team. And if we've given them every possibility to succeed, but it's still not happening, then it's not that we need to change our leadership style. It's that we've got to have one of those come to Jesus moments and go, maybe this person isn't the right person in this role or in the team or whatever. I mean, I see lots of leaders who bend themselves backwards and inside out to try and get somebody to just do the basics of the job. And you go, that's great that you are thinking about adjusting your style to meet the needs of the person. But sometimes the person's just on the wrong bloody bus. Get off. Oh, and if they handed their resignation in and you would have a party, then what does that tell you?
Exactly. Probably another way to kind of look at the impact of your leadership is who is being talent spotted to shoulder tapped out of your team. Like, are there people that are in your team that are in hot demand because of the way that you have developed them? Or is nobody in your team actually stepping up? Is your industry or your business constantly going outside to bring people in? Or are people inside your industry and inside your business actually taking the opportunities as they come up? Because, man, if you're always bringing talent in, it does say something about the business. It's like, we haven't got anyone in our team that could handle this. We're going to have to bring someone else in. It's like, well, who are you developing?
And maybe who you're recruiting in the first place as well, right?
Okay, so that's really been a discussion on those 4 leadership styles. Different styles, some are push, some are pull, some are high coercion, some are high engagement. And really what we want you to understand is there's no one right style. There is a right style for a moment in time. And I think it gives you great nuance as a leader, being able to bounce in and out of different styles and being able to think to yourself, what does the team need right now? What does this decision need? Have I got a full perspective, or does it just need some urgency? And are you just defaulting to the same one all the time under pressure? Because there are different types of pressure, and that may require a different style of leadership.
Yeah, and one way to bring your team with you through this is to actually articulate what the situation needs and why you're approaching it in a particular way. Because you don't want to seem like you're all over the place, where one day you come in and you're like, hey guys, what do you think? And then the next day you come in and you're like, no, do it like this. Whereas if you give your team the context explanation, which says, guys, we've got an urgent thing we've got to just make a decision on now. I'm going to make the call. I want your quick ideas. Then it's on me. Let's go. And then in other situations, you go, we've got this project. We've got plenty of time here. Let's all get involved in this. And that helps them understand why you are shifting in the amount of leash or input it is that you are giving to them.
Heard a good joke the other day. Well, it was actually on the Ghostbusters movie, and it's come back into my mind. It's been making me laugh all week.
Go on.
So it was, what does a hamster and a cigarette have in common?
What does a hamster and a cigarette have in common?
They're both harmless until you put them in your mouth and set them on fire. I don't know why I find that so funny. I find that hilarious.
That is just coming back again and again. It's a joke that just keeps on giving. I love that a lot. What I'm really proud of, if I can just put a shout out for myself right now, is I've been on the boat overnight and having a little boat adventure and trying that out. And that means for the entire duration of this episode that we've recorded talking about leadership, I've wanted to throw up on my keyboard. Because I haven't got my land legs back yet.
Oh,
so
wow.
Well done, us. When you move your head too suddenly, that doesn't help.
Okay, I'm not going to rock backwards and forwards because I do not want that visual.
Just stay really still.